Three things I did to pay for my Hermes Kelly bag. So, as you might have seen in one of my previous videos, I bought an Hermes Kelly bag, which is my dream bag. And I'm so fortunate to be able to have bought her. So there are three overall things that I did in order to be able to pay for my Hermes bag. There are probably going to be some people who could claim that I cannot really truly afford an Hermes bag because I am not ultra wealthy or ultra rich, and that's okay. But I think that being a mindful of but I think being a mindful shopper and knowing what you value and what you want to do in life and how you want to spend your money in life is a really important skill to be able to live a really rich and wealthy life overall. So, one of my goals was buying an Hermes bag, and I was able to do that. And these are the three things that I did in order to be able to afford that. First is I built up my savings to 100K, and I put my 100K into an SGov account. SGov is a treasury bill ETF, and generally it has a slightly higher return rate compared to most savings accounts out there, just a little bit higher. And also, you may not have to pay state taxes on your earnings from SGov. I'm not a financial person, so I could be completely wrong. But from the research that I had done, you don't have to pay state taxes on for some states, or for most states really, for SGov earnings. So I built my savings to 100K, and I had that sit there for quite a while. And then any interest earnings that I got from that account, I would put into the stock market and contribute to the stock market so that that money could grow in interest. 100K is a lot in savings to many people. So I feel like there could be a lot of feedback of people saying that, oh, 100K is like way too much to have in savings and that a good portion of that should be invested. That's just the amount that I felt comfortable having, just in case something were to happen, in case I lost my job, because I was starting a new job and I had no idea if I was going to be someone who would fit into that place. The other reason why I had such a large savings was because initially I thought that I would be interested in possibly buying a condo instead. So I wanted to build up that savings account to be able to have that money to go when I wanted to buy a condo. But after I kind of ran the numbers of whether or not I should rent versus buying a condo, renting just made so much more sense for me because like the amount that I would be paying in fees for condo would be about like 3/4 of the amount that I'm paying for rent. And I just felt like I would still be throwing away money while having so much money locked up away in a condo and not being able to be invested in the stock market, which I think typically performs better than growth of a condo in a city. Once I realized I wasn't going to be able to be buying a condo anymore, that's where I was like, okay, I have some money sitting here and maybe there's something that I would want to do with that money. So that was really one of the first things that I did to be able to afford my Hermes bag, was having a good amount in savings and reaching a point in my life where I felt secure enough to spend some part of that savings account. The second thing that I did in order to be able to pay for my Hermes bag is that I sold the majority of my bags. For most of 2025, I had 6 bags in my collection, and I have sold, and I'm about to sell one more actually. So in total, I'm going to be selling 4 of my bags of the 6. So I'm selling over half of my bag collection in order to use that money to be able to contribute to the funds towards buying my Hermes bag. So the bags that I sold, first I sold my Chanel Classic Flap, and I earned $6,000 for my medium Chanel Classic Flap, which I sold to Fashion File. And I'm guessing they sold it for much more than that. I was really unsure at first if I wanted to sell this bag because the Chanel Classic Flap is thought to be a classic. It's supposed to be timeless. But I felt like, I don't know, every time I wore the bag, I just felt like it wasn't really my style. Like, I get that Hermes is kind of like a semi flashy bag to have too, but there's something about the logo on the Chanel flap and it just saying that it's Chanel, that just for me just doesn't really suit me and my style. I tend to think I'm a fairly understated person when I dress. So it just didn't feel right whenever I tried to wear it. And so I felt like it would be a better use of my money to actually put that bag into another bag that I would use more often. And my other thought was like, if I was going to choose between using my Hermes bag or using the Chanel classic flap each occasion, I think I would always choose the Hermes bag. So in that sense, there really was no purpose in keeping the Chanel classic flap anymore. For my Chanel classic flap, I had paid like I think about $8,000 at the time for it, and probably with tax closer to $9,000. So it was a little bit of a money loss. But for the most part, I got to recoup most of my money, and then put that money to my new bag. So I sold that one. The second bag that I sold was my Louis Vuitton Nano Speedy. I earned $950 for. Initially, I had bought it for like $1,700, and I sold it to Fashion File. This bag was the first luxury bag that I had ever bought. I was in residency and at the time and going through a breakup, and I was going through an I deserve nice things type moment, and so I had bought that bag for myself, and I loved the bag. I really think I only used it like maybe 10 times in the last few years that I've had it, so I decided that it would be better used as money instead of keeping it in my closet. The other bag that I sold, or this one I guess I'm in the process of selling, it still hasn't been sold yet, but I'm selling my Celine small box bag in brown with gold hardware. And this one is posted on The RealReal, and when it gets sold, hopefully if it gets sold at the price that it's supposed to get sold at, I should probably earn about $600 to $700 for this bag. This one also breaks my heart a little bit because I bought this bag brand new from the store at like $3,000, and so it was such a huge money loss. But at the end of the day, even though it's a huge money loss, I still feel like if I'm not going to use a bag, there's still no point in it sitting in my closet, and every single dollar counts. Even though it's such a huge money loss, I still felt like it was better to sell the bag. It's such a beautiful bag. I just felt like the brown with the gold didn't really match with a lot of my items in my closet in terms of color palette, and it's such a smooth leather that I had too much anxiety with using it and getting it scratched. And then the last bag that I sold, which also does break my heart a little bit, is the Lady Dior ABC Dior bag. I really thought I was going to keep this bag forever. And this is, just to clarify, this bag I still have yet to sell, but I did get an offer already from Fashion File. That's $2,650, which I think is actually pretty good given for what many of the Dior bags are being sold secondhand for. I did buy my bag brand new, also from the store. It's in really good condition, some scratches in the hardware. It has a really beautiful like pearl star charm on the strap, which is one of my favorite things about the bag, is that charm actually. Overall, I love the bag. It's so beautiful and it feels so nice when you're holding it and using it. I really thought I was going to keep this bag because of how beautiful and classic it is. But then I've tried using it a few times these past few months, and there's something that just feels off when I use it. Like when I use it, it feels clunky. I don't feel great in it. Something feels mismatched about how it looks on me. I don't know. There's something that is missing from it, and I just don't love it as much as I used to. And so for that reason, I'm going to end up selling it. I'll get the $2,650 for that. And then another thing that I sold from my closet is a Max Mara Teddy coat. And I will be receiving $1,000 for that coat. And I think The RealReal has sold it for like $1,600. It's really nice, actually. I really do like the coat. The main issue is that I don't think it's really my style. So like the lapels on the coat are like really big, which I typically don't really like. When I'm walking for the coat, I have a long coat. So like when I'm walking, the coat will like flap like this as my like legs are hitting against it. So it just felt awkward overall, and it just wasn't really worth it. And to get $1,000 back for it, I'm pretty happy with that. Overall, in total, from selling the items that I've owned, if I add up everything, I'm going to round down for the Celine bag to $600 because I don't know if it'll actually sell that well. Overall, I would have $11,200 that I would get from selling those items. And the price that I paid for the Hermes bag was $2,500. With tax, I was like $2,700. If I divide that, I essentially am paying 41% of my Hermes bag through the items that I had owned before and that I sold off. And the other way to think of it is how much I'm actually paying. I am actually paying $15,800 for my Hermes bag by selling off the other items. That's still a lot of money. $15K is a lot. I will say that girl math, the way I'm thinking of it, is that the last time I bought a luxury bag was back in 2022. So that was 3 years ago. The last bag that I bought before the Hermes bag was a Chanel 22, which I still have because I actually use that bag. If I do girl math, and the last bag that I bought was in 2022, and I spent 3 years not buying any bags, if I do the $15,800 divided by 3 per year, that would end up equaling $5,266 that I have paid per year in order to be able to buy my Hermes bag. And that's the equivalent of getting one nice bag per year. So girl math, I think I kind of got around some of the numbers in order to be able to get my Hermes bag, selling off some of my things, which in reality, if I had never bought those things in the first place, I would have more money. But girl math, I sold my things to be able to put that money into this bag. And then I also didn't buy bags for a few years. And so it all kind of adds up in the end. Now, the third thing and the last thing that I did in order to be able to pay for my Hermes bag is being a conscious shopper and knowing what I like to spend my money on. I think it's such an important skill to know how you want to live your life and what you want to spend your money on and what you refuse to waste a dollar on. For myself, I do not care about cars. I drive a Toyota car. I do not get my nails done. I rent out the smallest studio apartment that I can feel comfortable at each stage of my life, even though theoretically people with my salary could maybe afford more. I try to eat out only with meaning. I do love food, so I do eat out a good amount, but I try to be intentional about it, eat out with purpose and meaning. And I also really try to not spend that much money on clothing, even though I do love clothing too, but I have significantly reduced the money that I spend on clothing and shopping in general. Those are the 3 things that I've done in order to afford my $25,000 Hermes bag. Let me know what you think of those 3 things. If any of them seem a little bit weird or a little bit strange to any of you. I do really believe in each person living their own rich life, which is the financial guru Ramit kind of supports. Living your own rich life is so important. And, when you're living your own rich life, a lot of times that means that other people around you won't understand what you're doing or why you're doing what you're doing. And that's because you're doing things that are unique to you that help you live your own rich life. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.